workers' union Solidarity says it wants to enter the energy space by generating power itself. Following a 2-week strike at Eskom that's said to have led to stage 6 load shedding in this country, the civil society organization is now also calling on government to fast-track the move to renewable energy in order to deal with South Africa's electricity crisis. Solidarity also believes that some of the solutions in dealing with the energy issues here in this country include the decentralisation of energy, ramping up training in the renewable energy space, and implementing a feed-in tariff scheme. What does this all mean? Well, let's bring in Solidarity's head of research, Connie Mulder, who joins us via our video link this morning. Connie, it's great to have you on the program. Thanks for your time and patience. Perhaps let's break these things up so that we ensure that we're following what Solidarity's plan actually looks like. This idea of being involved in power generation, how do you envision that will unfold? Does it look like Solidarity buying a stake in a company that's already in this space, or starting from the empirical levels, really starting from scratch?
All right, so I think the first thing is we're a trade union, and we looked at the situation at the moment, and the number one thing that we can do for job security for our members is quite frankly getting electrons into the grid. It's been 15 years with load shedding. We cannot continue like this. The economic damage is massive. The late Mark Schuessler estimates that South Africa has lost more than 1 million jobs, so that's about 125 jobs for every hour of load shedding, and this just can't continue. So it's a two-part strategy. The first is we're calling on all small-scale generators since last year, June, when President Ramaphosa announced the 100-megawatt self-generation limit for selling. There should have been a registration process. NERSA implemented that, but it's a very onerous process at the moment. We're quite frankly saying if you've got solar panels on your roof, or if you want to sell power at any point, we're calling on all small-scale generators to apply for a permit so that we can open these bottlenecks with a floodgate of applications. We cannot sit in the dark and wait for Eskom to fix this because, quite frankly, they're not going to. We need to get everyone who can to start generating power as quickly as possible. And then we're walking the walk as well as talking the talk and saying, but we're going to start generating power. This we're going to do through our property development company, Canton. And we've got several buildings already. If you just look at the new Soltec campus, Canton built that. And we've got solar panels on that roof. We can double that capacity and then start selling to the area surrounding that. So that's where we apply for a permit to generate and sell electricity to just plain simply get out of this nightmare that we've been living in for the last 15 years.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, with this company called Canton that you've mentioned, how much power are you hoping to generate?
So this is where I get in trouble if I make promises with someone else's money. I know Soltec at the moment has about 200 kilowatts of generation on its roof. This can easily be doubled. We're building hostels next to Soltec, which will also have a massive amount of power. Well, not a massive amount, but let's say we get to 1 megawatt, 2 megawatts. But it's important not going to be solving the country's crisis alone. That's not something that we can do.
Right.
This is meant to be a situation where everyone solves the country's crisis. We cannot rely on centralized power generation anymore. I think we need to look in the mirror after 15 years and face facts. Government is not going to solve this. They cannot solve this, or they will not solve this, or both. And we're in a situation where if we want power and we want an economy, we want people working, we don't want people standing on corners begging, we'll need to jump in and do this ourselves, either going around government or through them, but we cannot wait any longer.
Speaking about making sure that people are working, if Solidarity has its way, in other words, if your plan as it stands is fully implemented, it means Eskom will play a much less influential role than it currently does in energy generation. How worried are you about the impact this will have on workers that are affiliated to you that are currently at Eskom?
So our Executive Council adopted 5 resolutions, of which one is stabilizing Eskom. Now, it would be foolish to say there would be any energy future in which Eskom is no role player. Obviously, Eskom is going to be a stakeholder and a role player in any future of South Africa. We just can't have a situation where it's the only role player anymore. I don't think we're that worried for the simple reason we've got 200,000 members in all sectors. And although our Eskom members will, from our perspective, will most likely get opportunities when there are competitors competing for your skills, much rather, and the impact on the rest of South Africa, on all the other sectors, which cannot do anything. If we look at the stats, the GDP per capita in US dollars of a South African citizen has stagnated since 2014. For the simple reason we don't have power. We're almost uninvestable. The thing that bothers us the most is we've been in this problem for 15 years. How is this possible that we have not solved this yet unless the political will just plain is absent? And that's why if we're going to wait, we're going to lose several of our members are going to lose their jobs, several more. We've already seen the decimation that happened in the small and medium business sector, especially with stage 6. The economic impact cannot be overstated, and that means we're going to make sure, and that's one of the other Executive Council resolutions, we're going to repurpose our training institutions. We've got Soltech, we've got academia, and make sure we're offering courses in energy, engineering, in producing solar panels or any other renewable energy, producing storage, implementing, designing and maintaining these solutions to make sure that we, number one, got the skills to implement this, reskill people who need it, and number two, that we can actually successfully move to an economy that has enough electricity. And it's really as simple as that. Without enough electricity, the world is going to pass us by.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you were able to hear my conversation with Happy Kampule. He's with the Presidential Climate Commission, I beg your pardon. Part of our conversation was around this idea of a just transition. And I'm asking you, to respond to this because it almost feels like there are different stakeholders in some instances pulling in different directions. Do you feel, as a union that's got an interest in this story, that there is a level of streamlining so that we all know in what ways there could be even synergy in the different efforts that are currently being implemented across the country?
Well, no, I don't think there's a lot of streamlining. What worries me about that conversation is it's once again, we're going to take our time, we're going to plan, we're going to make sure that everyone is happy. The problem is we've got a 6,000 megawatt generating capacity shortfall at the moment. This is going to become more. Eskom is decommissioning 10,500 megawatt of coal-fired power in the next 8 years. They're decommissioning 22,000 megawatts of power in the next 13 years. We cannot be making plans anymore and waiting and 2024, 2025 finally start implementing them. Now, we saw this with government's emergency procurement system, the RMI PPPPP, which was meant to procure 2,000 megawatt of emergency power. This was the car power ship deal, which was controversial. Ultimately, that power should have been connected to the grid by June 2022. None of that happened. Now, we can sit back and wait for another promise that won't deliver, or we can just simply say we need to decentralize. Government's role should be incentivizing people to generate power themselves, maybe subsidizing it as much as they can, but they should please get out of the space. Just let us generate power and let us get this economy back on track. It's been 15 years. We can't wait any longer.
All right. Connie Mulder, who's the head of research at Solidarity, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. That's your take. I imagine many people will agree with parts of what you say and disagree strongly with others. But for now, thanks very much indeed for weighing in.